Joyous early evening. So here are the topics. A theory explains everything, and or your claim God is imaginary. So let's dive straight into the world-changing stuff. Let's get that off. We'll do this. And then we will go to the proton-proton chain reaction. This is the proton-proton chain reaction. This verifies A theory instantaneously. This falsifies B theory instantaneously. I'm not great at math, but I can do simple accounting math. Block theory, B theory, the block universe, I'm calling it B theology, claims that every single particle exists everywhere all the time, past, present, and future. But unfortunately, proton-proton chain reaction refutes that, falsifies that. It verifies everything is explained by A theory. It verifies that everything is the now t equals 0 moment. So in a proton-proton chain reaction, as you can see on the screen, you have a hydrogen, which is a proton and an electron. No neutron, just a proton and an electron. And when you have a star, which is a very densely packed mass of atoms, hydrogen, are grouped together by gravity. The strong nuclear force does its job holding the proton together, which is, I should get a picture of a proton. Let me get a picture of a proton. Proton and gluons. Images. We'll do that one. We'll do that one. There. Share this tab instead. So this is inside of a proton. You have two up quarks, you have a down quark, and you have gluons, which are the bonds that hold them together. That is the strong nuclear force right there. The bonds that hold the up quarks and the single down quark together. I will get you a picture of a neutron. Quarks. We'll do this one. In this image, maybe that's too small. In this image, you see here that a proton is an up quark, and a down quark, held together by bonds that are gluons, as is shown in this picture here. Up quark, down quark, gluons, strong nuclear force. Neutron, up quark, down quark, gluons, strong nuclear force. Going back to this image, so you have up quark, down quark, up quark, down quark, strong nuclear force, electromagnetic force holding the electrons. But since they're all packed together, this is not an accurate. This is a very primitive view. We now know that that electron is not in a solid orbit. It's more in a predictable cloud around the electron, around the proton. But in the center of a star, under the immense gravitational pressure, the strong nuclear force is able to defeat the gravitational force, except when it is governed by the weak nuclear force. And every once in a while, the weak nuclear force allows a proton, two protons, 1 plus 1 or 3 plus 3 for the three gluon bonds, to be forced into one Minkowski coordinate. So here is t sub 0, comma x sub 0, comma y sub 0, comma z sub 0. And this is t sub 1, comma x sub 0, comma y sub 0, comma z sub 0. And the weak nuclear force allows gravity to finally defeat the strong nuclear force, and they are forced into, and they are allowed, the weak nuclear force allows gravity to place them both in the same Minkowski coordinate here. And so when that happens, in the proton, one of the protons, a bond is broken and turned into a neutron with an up quark, a down quark, and a down quark. That breaking of that bond causes this. This V is an electron neutrino. It causes this here, a positron, a positively charged electron, and it causes this right here. This becomes a deuterium. This is now a hydrogen too, because it now has a neutron. So you have a proton and a neutron due to the weak nuclear force, allowing gravity to overcome the strong nuclear force. Two hydrogens, two protons are allowed to occupy the same Minkowski coordinate. An electron neutrino that has zero charge and a very finite little bit of mass is ejected from the center of the star instantaneously. It doesn't get hung up on any of the mass of the star, of the plasma, and then it shoots off in a totally random direction, never to be in the coordinate of that star again. Never, ever, ever. The positron is instantaneously annihilated with the negative electron that are swimming around the protons in the center, in the plasma of the star. And from that, I gotta get it. Electron and positron. Doesn't matter. They are also ejected instantaneously. That positron is annihilated instantaneously with an electron. But since that gamma ray photon has a charge, it's all energy, no mass, but has a charge. It takes billions of years to get through the dense plasma before it is also ejected at a random direction from the star, never to be in that localized area again. And let's say it is ejected towards Earth. It takes that 8 hours and 20 minutes, and then that photon hits a piece of gravel in front of your house on the street. And the energy from that gamma ray right there, heats up that rock for a short period of time. Thermodynamics. And that heat is then, it cools because of nighttime, or it gets water on it. The deuterium instantaneously, since it's now out of balance, attracts another hydrogen proton. They're compressed into the same Minkowski coordinate. The strong nuclear force binds them together. Another gamma ray is ejected, and they become 3 helium, which is unstable. But right next door, the weak nuclear force is allowing gravity to overcome the strong nuclear force. The same proton-proton chain reaction happens there. So another 3 helium happens here. They are, due to gravity, forced into the same Minkowski coordinate. Same thing happens. But this time, a hydrogen is kicked off. Another hydrogen is kicked off. Another proton, and then you get 4 helium, which is much more stable. And this happens again and again. And the weak nuclear force governs this process. Because if the weak nuclear force wasn't there, the star would burn out instantly. It'd be like a nuclear explosion times however many. But the weak nuclear force is the governor. Now, how does this falsify B theory, B theology? Because this hydrogen, this proton, and this hydrogen, this proton, will never, ever, 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 ever exist again. And this, when the proton becomes a neutron, and they bond and become two deuterium, two hydrogen, will never, ever, these two will never, ever, ever exist again. Those bonds will never exist again. Right there. That nullifies, that falsifies B theory instantaneously. That neutrino, electron neutrino, will never be in the vicinity of that star again. That falsifies B theory and verifies A theory instantaneously. That positron gets annihilated. It will never exist again. Never exist again. Falsifying B theory, verifying A theory. Now, look over here. Look, a hydrogen is created here. But that does not replace this hydrogen or this hydrogen. Even though protons, hydrogen, look exactly the same. They are indistinguishable. But unfortunately, when you put a Minkowski coordinate on them, they are now distinguishable. And we know that that hydrogen there is not the same as that hydrogen there or that hydrogen there, because they were created here by the strong nuclear force. So that falsifies B theory of time, and it verifies A theory of time. Now you have zircon crystals. Zircon crystals also falsify B theory of time and verify A theory of time. In a zircon crystal, when they are formed, they are filled with uranium-235. They are not filled with lead, because lead does not fit into the matrix of a zircon crystal when they are formed. And then, by the way, this is called plus beta decay. And actually, I don't remember at the moment what this is called. Anyway, I forget what this is called. This is also decay. Oh, and maybe it says here. For example, over time, uranium atoms lose alpha particles, each made up of 2 protons and 2 neutrons, and decay by a chain of unstable daughters into stable lead. Sorry, that's right. It's radioactive decay. Duh. Anyway, when the crystal is formed, it has uranium-235 in it. There's no room for lead. But over time, with half-lives, which are showed here, which we know, we can predict. We can't predict exactly which particles will decay, but we can predict exactly the percentage of particles. They decay. So this decay, this daughter proton of 2 protons and 2 neutrons decays and is emitted, and it becomes, that uranium becomes thorium-231. Right there. B theory is falsified. No ifs, ands, or buts. Simple math. That uranium-235 will never, ever, ever exist again. Never. So the thorium-231, that decays with a simple electron, and then 2 protons and 2 neutrons decays, an electron decays, is ejected. 2 protons, 2 neutrons, 2 protons, 2 neutrons, 2 protons, 2 neutrons, 2 protons, 2 neutrons, an electron, 2 protons, 2 neutrons, an electron, and all of a sudden you have lead-207. Where's that uranium? According to B theory, B theology, that uranium still exists somewhere in the past in that crystal. That crystal exists somewhere, but there's no evidence for it. These bonds were broken. They will never exist again. They're not sitting in the quote-unquote past. so it can be used again. It can't happen. Ever, ever, ever. Zircon crystals falsify B theory of time, B theology instantaneously. Enough of that. Let's go here. Let's talk about your claimed gods, because they are also falsified by A theory instantaneously. My starting statement: the dictionary I am providing for you in this conversation is the Webster's 2 New College Dictionary. Hear that? Physical evidence. Premises 1. Divine communication is definitionally perfect, instantaneous, effortless, optimal, and omnipresent. Premises 2. Communication that is instantaneous, effortless, optimal, and omnipresent do not require dictionaries. Premises 3. Physical dictionaries exist, as I just showed you and evidenced you, and they are entirely human constructs. Conclusion 1. Therefore, no divine communication exists without human language. Conclusion 2. Therefore, any claimed quote-unquote holy books requiring a human dictionary is explicitly not divine. It's sound, it's valid. Your claimed gods are imaginary. Now back to this statement. I think I'm going to remove this. I'm going to delete that, delete that, delete that. Self-respect is the foundation of world peace. From my self-respect, I provided the dictionary for this conversation. From my self-respect, I asked this question: what dictionary are you providing for this interaction? Since you can't provide a divine dictionary, I know every single word, every single meaning of every single word. It actually literally gets the interlocutors on the same page. That would be you and me. It increases the possibility and potential for accurate, clear communication. That would be you and me. It stops equivocation, mostly me because I'm getting older. Removes every single claimed God from the conversation. Every single dictionary is descriptive, not prescriptive. If your interlocutor claimed God has not provided any words or definition of those words and is thus using human words, then I know the meaning of every single word, and so does my interlocutor. It shows self-respect. It shows self-awareness and awareness of others. It shows self-appreciation, appreciation of others. It shows sympathy, aka functioning prefrontal cortex, absent stress hormones. It increases individual and interdependent safety. If we're using the same definitions, we're going to have clearer communication. We're going to be on the same page. We're going to be safer. If somebody starts equivocating, then we're not on the same page. That means we're less safe. And it stops pronoun ignorance. You can't claim you don't know what you don't use pronouns when I can show you what the definition of a pronoun is and a list of pronouns. Question 2, what are your surroundings? Actually gets the interlocutors in the same reality. Again, if I describe our location as safe and sound and you claim it as being incredibly unsafe, we're not on the same page. We're both less safe. And it accesses the ecosystem's biometric markers. I have a biometric tracker. I know my heart rate, my resting heart rate, my pulse, my heart rate variability, my oxygen saturation, my skin temperature. We can set it if my resting heart rate is let's say 55, and we say, okay, if it hits 80, we stop the conversation. We bring the stress levels down, the stress hormones down. We talk about our surroundings again, and then we start the conversation up. It stops a lot of misunderstanding. Question 3, what is your inner voice self story? The most important story in the universe, in my opinion. My interlocutor's inner voice self story is the most important self story in the universe. I know what my inner voice self story is. The chances of my interlocutor knowing what their inner voice self story, slim and none. It dictates how now data, information, knowledge is assessed, processed, and addressed. It is the story you tell yourself about yourself. Maybe I should put this. That's not what I wanted to do. Do that, do that, do that, do that. Maybe put that there. The story you tell yourself about yourself, the most important story in the universe, in my opinion. It dictates how now data, information, knowledge is assessed, processed, and addressed. It is whose voice tells that story too. Your own voice, others' voices, parents' voices, spouses' voices, mean kids' voices, priests, imam, rabbis' voices. The manner in which the story is told to you is a friend with self-respect, make eye contact, practice the inverse golden rule. Do unto oneself as one would have others do unto oneself. If one does not want to be kicked in the groin by another, one does not kick oneself in the groin. Is it a friendly voice practicing dwelling, regret, worry, anxiety, remorse? It's called kicking oneself in the groin. Or is it an enemy? Is it toxic behaviors towards oneself, smoking, alcohol consumption, illicit drug use, non-illicit drug use? A measure of individual and interdependent safety. Question 4. What are your emotional attachments? Emotional attachments, a deep, often subconscious mental and emotional bond with people or objects that foster feelings of safety, comfort, and security. Generational baggage. If you're telling generational baggage, if you have a generational story, if you have traditions, you have an emotional attachment. Stories, emotional attachment. Memories, families, sports teams, religion, rabbit's feet, and special socks are all emotional attachment. Whoobies, whatnot. These are questions. I should put that there. These are questions every single fellow human being needs to have answers to before asking every single interlocutor and before every single interaction, every single time. Then I go into world peace, but I don't feel like doing that tonight. Thanks for stopping by. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.